What did your partner do that made you suddenly understand they weren't right for you? We were walking to a restaurant and casually chatting. I offhand tried to remember what I was up to a couple of days prior. It made sense in the context of the conversation. He cut me off and said probably sleeping in and doing nothing all day. It was just a jab to be hurtful, no lead up to it at all. Not that it should matter, but I had a credit card, car, and the lease on our house all in my name. He had none of those. He worked part-time as a server, but couldn't support himself. I paid all our bills. He didn't want to be on the lease because he didn't want to feel tied down. He was deeply insecure, and I guess it just came out. He needed to knock me down a peg when he got the chance. I dumped him over dinner at the restaurant. We were fighting all the time. I tried to leave and he'd love bomb me. At some point I just asked him to make some effort to treat me with some kindness. He replied that he refused to do that because it would be a lie. I realized that at the most basic level he just didn't like me, but thought of me as a toy he didn't want to lose. He gleefully told me about how he screamed at some teenage cashier at a restaurant because she accidentally double-charged him. He told me it felt good to yell at someone who actually deserved it. He went on about how mean he was to her, how he yelled at her. He was so happy. My jaw was on the floor. I'm the one he screamed at all the time for 5 years, and he accidentally confessed to knowing that I didn't actually deserve it. I'm not saying that that poor kid did because fucking yikes. Of course she didn't. That alone might have even been enough if I allowed myself to be honest with myself, but it was the magical phrase "it felt good to yell at someone who actually deserved it" that cured me. Whatever was wrong with my brain that caused me to stay in what I already knew was an abusive relationship, it immediately corrected itself, and I was done. Suddenly I got a tidal wave of Ike that was a long time building. I'm so ashamed I stayed with that man for as long as I did. I'm so glad it's over. It wasn't my partner, but a friend. I was venting about my then boyfriend to a friend I didn't see too often when she stopped me and asked, "Do you even like him as a person? Would you be his friend if you weren't dating?" We broke up shortly after. It was an eye-opening question. Dated a woman for a year. The day she was to start moving in with me, she told me my cat had to go. I told her that wasn't going to happen. She told me I had to choose, her or the cat. I told her goodbye. Never saw her again. His mother slapped me so hard she broke my glasses. He just stood there and laughed and said I deserved it. All because I didn't load the bloody dishwasher to her standards. He hit me across the face. All the love disappeared then and there. They called me a burden when I was a guest at their house. Became abusive after our son was born, especially after going through IVF with donor sperm because he was sterile. It's a kind of betrayal that I never expected, and my divorce was finalized today after being separated for a year and a half. Good riddance. He was living with me at my parents' house when he fell on tough times. One day he was using my laptop to check emails and left for work. He didn't log out, so when I used my computer I saw he had emails from his new coworker who was a lesbian. Lol, nothing crazy, just flirty emails and some selfies. Still staring at his inbox, I called him to confront him about it, and as soon as I started talking about my findings I saw the emails disappearing one by one, probably deleting them from his phone in the moment. Then denial, denial, denial. That was the last time that boy ever took me for a fool. Lol. Told me that I wasn't allowed to struggle when they were struggling because it invalidated their feelings. I realized I was parenting him instead of being with him. When I walked outside the pub and saw her making out with a complete stranger. 4 years down the drain, but at least I dodged the bullet of marrying her. Thankfully I've met a much better woman since then. Even though he claimed otherwise, his encouragement was manipulation and putting me down. They gave me massive anxiety and second-guessed myself constantly. I ended the relationship in December and am working on bettering myself. First, with a new job, getting out of retail, and now I'm gonna start working at a hospital in April. We had been long distance for 5 years and were finally living together. I had decided to move to the city he was living in. Every single day, I was grateful to wake up next to him in the morning and go to sleep with him at night without having to say goodbye anymore. He applied for a new job in a city 2.5 HRS away from where we live and only told me about it when he was already about to accept the offer. I tried to be supportive, but I felt so lonely throughout the week when he was gone in a city that wasn't even my home to begin with. That was a 6-year relationship down the drain that I thought was gonna last forever. One morning I woke up, she was sitting in our sunroom looking mad. She asked to see my phones. Said she had a dream that I cheated on her. I had nothing to hide. I gave her my phones. She found nothing and never apologized. I never cheated on her. He, who at the time was homeless and jobless and living in his car with his dog, told me, who lived in a nice townhome with roommates, worked full-time, and was going to school for my bachelor's, that I really needed to get my life together. He was a manipulative and gaslighting loser who didn't deserve the 6 months he got with me. Choose his friends over me again and again, never had my back, got drunk all the time. I was dating someone and living in a high-rise at the time. The first time they came over they hit every button on elevator on the way up. As we got out there were only a couple elevators, and it's just shitty to take time out of everyone's day making them wait for some childish shit.